Hello! Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that I have wondered about for a long time, and that is the myth of free infinite energy. Now I know that has been debated over and over and over again. People have tried, they've failed, but then other people have tried and supposedly succeeded. But then they post videos and not really show enough evidence to show that their thing actually works. And that's something I just couldn't wrap my head around. Like, how can so many years have gone by and still no one has found a sound reason behind why or why not this experiment doesn't work? My particular case was with magnetism. Like, why couldn't that work? I couldn't understand it. And in my research, it was just going back and forth, and I couldn't really find a clear answer. People are still trying up until this day. It's 2016. They've had many different setups, they've been replicating, refining, and a lot of them have been involved in scams. That's true, but again, not all of them have. So there's some leeway onto what's going on. I asked the question, is free energy possible? No, free energy is not possible. There's always going to be some cost involved. You're not just going to produce something that will make infinite energy. Can you convert energy? Yeah. You can't create it out of nowhere. So I think that was a big point that a lot of people were missing. That's not what these machines do. The whole thing behind this machine is to convert the magnetic energy into electricity that we can use. Now, is it free? No. You've got to build the mechanism. You have to replace the magnets every so often. The magnets will run out of power eventually. So there are costs involved. It can't run forever. Nothing can run forever on nothing. Magnets eventually lose their charge and they'll have to be replaced, but up until then you are producing some sort of energy. And the motors do not run on nothing. It is the magnetic force. It doesn't defy the laws of physics. You can't break the laws of physics. They're laws. Being that something like this is possible, it has to be found within the known laws of physics. You now have to understand what's actually going on in this mechanism and how it applies to the laws of physics. The specific case that I decided to research was the myth behind the Perendev motor. The Perendev motor was patented. It was a sound design and it was being developed, but the patent is now expired. And it's been involved in several scams. It is the most commonly reproduced version of a free energy magnet motor. Being that there have been so many failures and so many scams, compared to how many people have actually gotten it to work, it's automatically disproven because of the sheer amount of failures. But based on those few successes, I believe that this machine would work. So I decided to create my own. Now, as you can see, it's not a full-scale model. I did have to scale it down, but I did research many of those who have attempted this before. I adjusted the design comparing what didn't work to what did work to what could work, and combined it all into this singular design in a scaled down, more refined model for the sake of experimentation. The first thing I want to show you here is the basic theory behind how these magnet motors work. What's going on here is the inner magnet is being attracted and then repelled by the outside magnets, which are completely positively charged. Now, this is not my doing. I didn't create this, but I found this 3D model of what a Perendev motor basically looks like. As you can see, you have 3 inner wheels of magnets lined up against 3 outer rings of opposing magnets. And the whole point is that it will spin based on this attraction, repulsion, continuous motion magnetic field. Now, here is the modified Perendev magnet motor by Robert H. Callaway. As you can see, the setup of the magnets, the inner magnets are 1-inch magnets set ½ an inch apart, which are axially magnetized, but the outside magnets are diametrically magnetized. The outside rings are what are going to do the attraction and repulsing. This was another design of somebody who used complete opposing and set the magnets on an angle. The outside rings are lined up straight across, but the inner rings, they're offset. They're all basically set off by ½ a magnet from each other. And the whole point of this golden ratio is to maximize the amount of magnetic interaction between the outer rings and the inner wheel. In the end, you have 2 magnets worth of interaction constantly going at every point through this system. What some designers were doing were placing the magnets flat. This would cause them to lock because there was no direction of force. So then there were some other designs that tried angling the magnets in order to kind of direct the magnetic flow. So the Perendev design itself called for a 25-degree angle and it was tested and didn't really work out, so I increased the angle to 50 degrees, which gives it a much sharper, intense angle. I used diametrically magnetized magnets in the outer rings and axially magnetized magnets in the inner rotor instead of doing straight repulsion. It helps a lot in keeping the motion continuous and also making the magnets last as long as possible. The whole point is to use non-magnetic materials. So the aluminum rods that I have here, everything is aluminum. You don't want magnetic interference with the metals that you're using in your design. When scaling down my model, instead of using 1-inch magnets, I used 3/4 inch diameter magnets. And so then I had to adjust the rest of my design. Instead of inch spacing and 1/2 inch spacing, I had to do 3/4 spacing on the outer rings and 3/8 spacing on the inner rotor. I also didn't use the full maximum grade N52 neodymium magnets. I did scale down to N42. I used outer rings mounted that I can slide into fit the shape of the rotor. So the spacing is uniform throughout. It's still that 1/8 of an inch space continuously throughout that perfect circle. Also, a big thing was magnetic shielding. I noticed people used bismuth, graphite, and ferrite, but it didn't seem to be very effective, so I decided to skip out on it and see how much of a change it really made. So basically, through my calculations, I found that the best setup for a nice scaled model would be 10 magnets in the outer ring, 10 3/4 magnets with 10 3/4 spacings in the outer rings, and 12 3/4 magnets with 3/8 spacing. And that was one of the very few ratios that I found to work with a circular design such as this without there being leftover space. A big thing in the scammed videos was that there was a theory that there was a hidden motor, because they didn't show the process of how they created the thing. It was just the motor was there and it was moving. There really isn't any way I can hide anything in it. It's pretty open. I have my MDF rings, I glued in the magnet, and the outer rings I cut from the same material that I cut the inner wheels for, and I drilled the holes all the way through, put in the magnets, plugged them in from the back. So this entire apparatus is made completely out of wood, MDF board, magnets, and aluminum components. Aluminum screws, aluminum L-brackets, aluminum shaft, aluminum bars. And that's really it. There isn't much to it. So I want to give you guys a quick demonstration of my apparatus here, just to show you that there really is nothing more attached to it. These are my bearings. This is where it pretty much stops, you know, on each side. There's nothing under the table. I mean, I don't know what else to show you. I can lift it up. Lifted it up in the air. There's nothing really. Oh my goodness. There's nothing attached to it there. I can freely rotate it. I'll pick it up again so you can see underneath. It is just a free object. As you can see, it's clearly not moving. It has a little bit of magnetic lock. There is a point of resistance that it needs to get past. There is a point where it eventually catches. Let's see if I can make that happen. It didn't happen on the first try. So it eventually sustains itself. Let me adjust this. A little more, a little more. And okay, let's try this. And okay. Alright, I'm not going to move. It is sustaining itself, which is good, as you can see. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to stand still. But you can see that it is consistently sustaining itself. For the sake of the video, I'm not going to let it run for a huge amount of time, but just for demonstration purposes, you can see that it is sustaining itself. I mean, it's moving, it's not slowing down, it's not speeding up either, but it is a steady rotation. So you can see it does run for a significant amount of time, but eventually it does slow down, but it does catch, which is very interesting. So that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. There you have it. A semi-working Perendev motor. Let me just show you again. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, that just about did it. Again, I'm not going to move because I don't want to disrupt it, but it is sustaining itself. It did catch. It's keeping its momentum. I don't know if it's generating any energy, but it does continuously move, and that is what I wanted to achieve with this. Now, just to show you again, I'm going to move it. It might disrupt it, but I don't have anything attached. Oh, you can hear it slowing down there. So eventually it does lose its momentum. I feel that my experiment is a success because even though it doesn't work perfectly, it is able to sustain itself for quite an amount of time. Now, I did make these pieces by hand, so it's not completely refined and is not built to perfection. That's why from going forward I'd want to 3D print it or use PVC or some plastic like that.